Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Claire Roberts, and I am with MnCREW in Minneapolis, and I am a member of the CREW Network Board of Directors. This is my second year. It's a wonderful experience, and I'm delighted to be hosting this call today. The call today is on membership development, and I think for all of us as chapters, membership development is huge. So we have a lot of things we want to talk about, and we would like your input. If you've been on a call with me or if you attended any of the meetings that, like we did in Tucson where we talked about membership there, I will call on you if I don't hear from you. So I have a list in front of me, so be aware. We do like to have everybody's input, but with 60-plus people on the call, we're going to say, please try to make your remarks kind of brief and give everybody a chance to speak, because this is how we learn, is from each other. And there's so much good information to be shared. Would you like to do a roll call so you know who's here, or do you want to just dive into it? Anybody have an opinion? We have 36 chapters represented, which is outstanding. That's basically 50% of our chapters are represented today, so that's really nice. Anybody have an opinion? Would you like to do a roll call?
I'm comfortable with diving in.
Does anybody else feel like they'd like to know who's on the call?
No roll call.
Perfect. No. Wendy, were you going to say something?
I think that you should dive in.
Perfect. We do have Wendy Mann, CREW Network CEO, on the call, as well as Laura Lewis. Laura is our wonderful, what do I say, Laura? Laura does all the white papers and the marketing and just has CREW looking its best to the press and the public. We also have Tara Pirco on the call, who is CREW Network Board President, and I think maybe Gail and Jeanette from the board are on the call as well. So, but again, we do want to hear from all of you. So the biggest thing in talking about membership development, I think, it's interesting to hear different chapter strategies about how they target new members, and do they target new members? So I think that's the first question. Does your chapter have a target list? And how do you develop that, and how do you determine who you should put on that list? And I'm going to say it one more time. If you do have to put us on hold, please do not put us on hold on your phone. Mute us by hitting *6. Otherwise, we get your wonderful elevator music. So, opening it up. Who has a kind of a program to target new members, and how do you decide who should be on that list?
Claire, this is Jody Borges. Go ahead.
This is Karen Pecoraro from CREW Baltimore. We absolutely track our non-member attendance to all events. We look at that list immediately following, and we vet non-members for qualified fields of real estate and or strategic affiliates, and we target those for membership.
So you're using the people that attend your meetings, you vet them out, and you put them basically on a target list.
Those that qualify for membership. And in addition to that, the membership committee routinely, just from our own personal contacts and from news media sources and other interactions, will collect the names of individuals to target for membership. If they have not attended an event, we will reach out to them and ask them to attend the next event as our chapter guest, and we work on them to get that application done and get it submitted and get them approved. But again, the process of identifying and pre-vetting them for qualified fields of commercial real estate and or strategic affiliate partners.
Very good. Thank you, Karen. Karen's in Baltimore and D.C., I believe.
Yes.
Someone else.
This is Jody Borges Bradley from CREW Atlanta, currently sitting on the board as liaison to membership. Our chapter actually has decided, due to the size, that we need to almost split focus of how we are recruiting and being strategic for smart growth to make sure we maintain those percentages of different categories of membership. We have a strategic membership committee which actually does a whole lot of new member events, prospective member events, evaluating how we are seen in the industry, some of the top contenders that are coming out in real estate publications. We also have another committee that is member services to make sure we are still serving and delivering good initiative, good members-only events, really kind of investing in our current members so we don't see any troubles with the renewals or turnover. So due to our size, we're about 400 members. That is something that we have been strategic about for the last couple of years to maintain not only going after new members, but making sure we maintain our current membership as well.
Can I ask Jody a question?
Yep.
Sure.
Jody, how large was the Atlanta chapter when you did that split in between strategic and member services?
I think we're probably close to 325, 350 members. You're always going to have changes with people going to different industries or just in a different season of how they're involved professionally in different organizations. But we have had some pretty steady growth over the last, I would say, 4 to 5 years, going from about 200 members to now right at almost 400.
Very good.
So you think about 200 was when you did the split?
No, ma'am. We actually did the split. This is only the second year because the committee was having to do so many things and so many different focuses. We wanted to definitely have it a way to recruit and promote the chapter. That's how strategic membership is focused, that one committee. And then actually to make sure we're investing and engaging our current membership, that is how we identify member services. So once you're with before you're a member and up until about 3 months, we still are focused on the strategic side. But then once we get them engaged in a committee or an initiative or really have that connection to how Cru can benefit them from all resources, that's when it kind of switches over from new member services. And we've got different initiatives on each side. I kind of like to kid about and keep the motivation of membership being the core of engagement for our chapter.
Very good. Thank you. Just real quickly, to those that just joined us, thank you for joining us. We just started a couple minutes ago, and we're asked the question, does your chapter have a strategic list of potential target members? And if they do, how do you decide who's on that list? So we've heard from a couple people. Baltimore and Atlanta, somebody else, maybe a smaller chapter, a younger chapter?
Christy in San Antonio.
You know what? You're breaking up. Can you get closer to your speaker or?
Is this any better?
That's much better. Thank you.
Christy, I'm the membership director in San Antonio. We created a strategic plan based on trying to get more C-suite members. So the membership committee got together and we kind of brainstormed on past C-suite level members who maybe used to be more active and had dropped their membership. And also just who do we know out in the industry who are women who own business, who met the qualified field. We kind of put them on a list and targeted them and then assigned certain committee members to kind of, I guess, court those people to try to get them to come join through.
So do you do like a one-on-one, or you have one person and they focus on 5 people and everybody's assigned a certain group of people?
Well, we kind of went down and said, hey, do you know this person? Does someone already have a relationship with the women that we had on the list? And then, so we kind of, if you've already got a relationship there, we assigned, that committee member to that potential person. Or we just said, depending on who that person worked for, we kind of strategically assigned it to someone who they may want to mingle with at Cru and, could maybe have some influence over them joining or not.
Good. That's a great idea. So you're courting, not stalking.
Court, yes, very gently court.
I just wanted to make sure we were clear on that.
Yes.
Anybody else that has a very defined plan to target potential new members?
This is Casey Pace, Chair of Membership for Crew New York. Hello everyone. I have a very robust committee, so I'm very fortunate in being able to delegate, but we do have a group that's specific for targeted outreach. So what they'll do is go through the membership roster and we'll look at firms first, that stand out as obvious large firms in New York City.
That'd be great.
Can somebody hit *6? We're hearing a lot of conversation. Sorry, Casey, for the interruption.
No problem. I was like, what's happening? So one thing is looking at the membership roster, both from non-member attendees to our luncheons, of which we have 6 open to non-members throughout the year, as well as firms that are represented with multiple members, but are not, we'll go and we'll tailor a mini Discover at their office. We had a very successful one at Cushman & Wakefield last year where there were about 7 of us, and we went and we had a great, lighthearted, fun, interactive meeting that resulted in, I think, 4 Cushman members joining, and we went with information. When I went through the roster, I realized in the tri-state area, Cushman & Wakefield had 3 members. They had 150 plus throughout the chapters in the United States, but they only had 3 in one of the largest markets in the U.S. And going in there with that information was exceptionally positive, and I think opened the doors for them to be able to take that back and say, hey, what are we doing? We have a ton of offices up here, and we have 3 members. So, knowing who you're pitching to and then trying to do a tailored, customized pitch to them, I found has been a great way to get in front of these companies, get more members in.
So Casey, can I summarize real quick and correct me if I got this wrong? But you looked at some of the big companies in your market, and whether it's a Cushman & Wakefield as brokerage or it's a big development firm or an A&E firm where you feel like you're missing, you looked at that firm and you went to them. So you basically took the roadshow to them and said, here's who we are, here's what we do, and here's how your employees, your members, or your people can benefit from being a member. Is that correct?
And I take it a step further to the national firms, and I'll tell them quantity and what market they presently have members, just not in New York. So, when you go with that information, they tend to, absorb it a little bit easier than, hey, we're another organization in New York City looking for you to become a member, because there are quite a few in this area that we're competing against.
So there's some real good basic things there that Casey says they're doing in New York, which is basically doing your research, know where you need people, where you're low, know your companies in your market, and know how many members they have not only in your area but throughout the country, and be able to speak to that, and then go to them instead of necessarily inviting, because I think a lot of our chapters invite people to come to our programs, which sometimes can be intimidating, as much as we try to be welcoming. But you went to them, and I think that's a great idea. I've never heard that, Casey. That's really a great idea. I'm gonna flip this for a second and ask a different question. Who out there doesn't have a target list, and do you not feel that your chapter needs it, or do you think that this is a good idea? Are there any chapters that really don't feel a need to target new membership? Do you feel like you're just real good status quo as you are? Anybody? Okay, so it's something we all need to work on. So I'm hearing.
Sorry, this is Helen Silvis from Philadelphia. I thought I was muted, but apparently I wasn't, and I was. And I muted myself.
There we go.
Myself. I don't think that what we're doing is not targeting. We are doing very similar to Baltimore, where we're taking and tracking the non-members who've attended events, but we don't do the pre-vetting beforehand, but we definitely have follow-up by persons within the membership group, and as well as follow-up from those within the membership that aren't necessarily a membership committee for follow-up. But I like the idea that New York had of specific firms that maybe don't have great representation in to get a better balance. And I would love to hear from other folks about their assessment of what they consider their balance to be.
Perfect. See, I want to ask all of you as chapter leaders, do you know that you can go on to CrewBiz and see, it's called your chapter dashboard of who is in your chapter. And right now, there is a line, there is I should say a column that will show you if somebody's in law or brokerage or so forth. But I am told that in June, the dashboard will be updated so that it will basically give you the composition of your chapter. So it'll say like 22% in law, 8% brokerage, that kind of thing. So you will be able to see that really well. Are you all familiar with that? If when you log in, you go to My Account and then go to Chapter Management, and it'll take you to your chapter so you can see that. Has anybody done that? Can I get some feedback on that?
This is Ida Namer with Crew Maryland Suburban, and I rely heavily on that data. So yes, we use that actively.
And I'm sorry, who was that? Sarah?
Oh, this is Ida Namer from Crew Maryland Suburban.
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else use that data?
Yeah, this is Adriana Nelson from Crew Northern Virginia. Similar data, we use the dashboard pretty much daily and in all of our membership strategy meetings. So it's been really helpful. And to date, we've created our own sort of percentage tracker of all the different QFCREs, but I'm happy to know that Crew Network is working on something that will also be available on the dashboard.
Yep. I'm told about June, so do check that. And if you're not using, the information that's available on the website, there's so much information there. And again, your entire board has access to your chapter management and to that dashboard. So encourage your board to use it and to understand, the composition of your chapter and how you're growing and if you're contracting. I mean, we don't want to see contractions. We know it happens at times, especially in economic downturns. But if you are, then you need to address it and understand why that's happening. I want to throw this out here now and ask the question. We talk a lot about younger members. We talk a lot about how do we retain senior members. Does anybody feel like they're doing a really good job of attracting or retaining senior members? And I'm going to tell Crew New York, I had a conversation with a member yesterday who said she used to be an ARU, and she got away from ARU for a while and was thrilled when you guys merged with Crew. She thinks it's a great transition and been very beneficial, and she's thrilled to be back and be part of Crew now and to participate. So that was good to know because she is definitely more senior. But anybody else? Someone? Don't make me call on you.
Karen Pecoraro in Baltimore again. We do focus on some of our panelists. We tend to attract some very senior women in the industry to speak on our programs panels, and we definitely target them for membership as well, and we've had success with that.
Very good. Anybody on from Houston? What do you do in Houston? No one? How about Charlotte?
This is Charlotte. We're actually in the process right now of trying to target, I guess, C-suite senior members. We have, we always try to do it, but we're putting on with another committee. I guess it'll be kind of like a small, I don't want to say cocktail party, but kind of a cocktail party. So we're going out now targeting and figuring out who we want to invite to that, and then try to get everybody in one place at one time and try to introduce them to Cree that way. Then after the fact, what we're going to do is have a follow-up where we drop off, a thank you note and maybe some type of a gift that makes them think of Crew, be it even something as simple as cookies that have Crew written across them or something like that. So we're definitely trying to target that group right now. It's just, people in larger markets, y'all all know it's hard. It's hard to figure out exactly who you should target, and that's been our biggest hurdle.
Who is speaking? I'm sorry.
This is Andrea Williamson with Charlotte.
Okay. And what kind of event? Because you dropped off right as you started to say the event.
Well, we're doing it with another group, another committee, and we're basically holding almost like a cocktail party kind of event that's just going to be for target C-suite folks, and it's just a way to get them all together and to introduce them to crew at one time, but in a casual setting.
Perfect.
Claire, are you looking for ideas of people who are trying to engage their legacy or senior members, or recruit them?
We were talking about recruiting first, Gail Bordeaux, thank you. And we'll get to the retention piece of that. But right now we're talking about attracting.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Okay, this is Barbara Champeau in New York. A number of the people who've spoken have indicated in one way or another that their strategic growth plan involves targeting C-suite or comparable senior executive women. And I'm curious, I think that the definition of who those women are has changed dramatically over the past 5 to 10 years as there's a huge swell surge in entrepreneurial businesses and startups, and so you may have a CEO of a 2-member firm as opposed to the CEO of, say, Vornado. And I'm just wondering, those who strategically target C-suite and senior executive women, does this phenomenon, has it changed your approach to them at all? Do you target the groups the same or differently? Or it's really a broad range of C-suite now, much broader than it was, say, 10 or 20 years ago.
Thank you, Barbara. That's a great question because you are right. There are a lot more entrepreneurial companies. So, yeah, how are you handling that?
This is Charlotte again. That's actually our biggest problem, or our biggest issue, I would say, is just figuring out, like you're saying, there are so many now, so it is figuring out who to target. And we're actually kind of hashing that out really as we speak. So we've been passing even emails back and forth the last couple of days, because if anyone has any suggestions, that would be very helpful, because that's one of our biggest challenges. There's so many of them.
Correct. Anybody else? What are I'm going to flip it then. What are you doing to attract younger members? And we know that there are some younger members that we have a harder time attracting because they don't feel they need an organization like Crew. Is anybody having that issue in their market, and how are you trying to combat that?
We have no shortage of them in Crew Baltimore.
Whoa, okay, wait a minute. We've got about 5 people trying to speak, so.
This is Eula with Crew Cleveland.
Hi, Eula.
Hi. So, well, actually, we see an increasing young members in our chapter, but our problem is how to retain and make them stay active, because there are a lot of similar organizations in Cleveland, and all those young people, they just have so many different interests, and once they join, it's hard to keep them on board. So one program that we are actually currently working on is to establish a mentorship. Whenever they join, we are trying to pair them with the senior members so that the senior members can help them navigate the Crew resources and tell them how to get more engaged and even get a board role in the future.
Perfect. So the retention piece we are going to get to. We're not quite halfway through the call, and I'm going to tell you to hold your thoughts on retention, because we will get to that here in a minute. But anybody else that want to talk about young people and how you're attracting them?
Well, can I just add one comment? So
sure.
What do we do to use that? Well, one purpose of doing that is to attract the new members, because we're going to put it in our program. So that's something differentiate us from the UOI and other organizations locally here.
Very good. And we'll look forward to seeing you in June.
Me too.
Okay. Anybody else, or about 5 people trying to talk?
This is Stacy Goodell, and president of Crew San Francisco. We started about 2 years ago a Rising Leaders Committee that is for women who are have been in the industry for 5 years or less, and it has been very successful. We've put together a mentorship program through the Rising Leaders. They're a very energetic and active bunch. They use their monthly meetings to actually bring in a guest speaker for part of the monthly meeting on topics, professional development topics, and they have put together some programs that are compatible to some of our other programs, such as our big golf tournament every year. They now run a Golf 101 practice session that's a couple of weeks before our big golf tournament. So it's been very successful, and and they recruit their friends. So we've had a lot of really good success with that program. Our challenge with the program is getting them to move out of the Rising Leaders program committee and bring some of their energy and enthusiasm to the other aspects of Crew.
Gotcha. So you developed a new problem is that they want to see young emerging leaders all along.
Yeah.
Time to move on.
Yeah, it's wonderful because they're with their peer group, and they really they have a whole network of people that they can discuss their career level concerns and issues with, and it's going to be a fantastic network for them for the rest of their lives. And we've actually have decided, based upon the success of that we're going to look at developing some programs for other peer level profession or peer level groups in our organization as well. Maybe focusing the 10 to 20 year. Doing dine-arounds for folks that are just focused in that career level. And then we're also going to start doing a breakfast meetings for the 20-plus, what we call our spicy members.
20-plus is spicy? Wow.
That's what
I'm just trying to figure out what I am. I must be like fully cooked and roasted on the backside. That's great. That's great.
The other thing that we're doing, I think you said we're going to get to retention later, but we've realized that we have about 10 members in our chapter who've been a part of Crew San Francisco for 25 years or more, and we're going to honor them at our holiday benefit this December.
Very nice. Can I ask a favor? I've gotten feedback from a couple people that they're hearing a lot of noise on the line. So if you're not speaking, if you could hit *6 to mute your line, because we're getting a lot of noise. Thank you.
Hi, this is Kelly from San Antonio. Can I ask a question to the Atlanta Crew representative?
Sure.
Yes, go right ahead.
Earlier, you had spoken about having a really large membership of 400 plus, and how your membership committee was broken into two categories, strategic and member services. Can you tell us on the strategic component of your membership committee, how did you recruit? What were some of your recruiting practices?
One area we have found really important for the strategic side on recruiting is to look at it from all levels. We know we need to maintain the certain type of membership categories and percentages per the bylaws, but we had a small ad hoc committee called Smart Growth where we did compile the list, where we did look at the statistics of the top list of real estate industries and firms in our market that covered law, that covered finance, that covered accounting, all the different areas. And then double-checked, were they members of Crew? If they were, how many members they had, and making sure we had a good balance of young professionals from the firm and also more senior-level management and C-suite individuals. So that's the one Smart Growth kind of focus and ad hoc initiative we have. One thing we also do is we call them membership mixers. We try to have one a quarter where we have individuals that might be interested in Crew but don't quite know enough, want to feel really connected with anything that they get involved in. So we have one of these per month that ranges in, sometimes they're in the morning, sometimes they're at lunch, sometimes they're happy hour in the evening, and we just add names to the list and constantly invite them so that it's a smaller setting. They can find out a little bit more detail about each committee and what the organization does as a whole, how the benefits are through Crew Network, what initiatives and focuses we have coming up for the year on education and programs, and really just trying to engage them on a smaller, more tangible level, because 400 can kind of be a big group when you get us together, especially when we're all excited to see each other and network and do business together. So those are some of the main initiatives we do. And then once we engage them and get their application, we actually go through the vetting process, and we're recently updating this to add a questionnaire, and we highlight them as new members coming in, so they're also getting the PR right off the bat and connections within the industry. And then we have something called Crew Connect, where engaging them as potential members and then tying them into a new membership. Once we do engage them, they have another smaller type setting that everybody just meets in different areas of the city, and we know the time and the place, and it's kind of growing into a crew takeover, where we once a month are going to look at doing different areas in the city and just kind of doing it word of mouth to take over a restaurant, a patio, any type of setting, maybe a bowling alley, whatever it is, to just engage members and kind of start the conversations so they can see it not just as the large organization of 400 people, but much more tailored down into making those long-lasting relationships through professional and also enhancing personal.
And remember, they have over 400 members, and you cannot have a regular monthly meeting like that in a smaller chapter. So everybody's got to tailor to their chapter. We share ideas so that we can do things like that. But again, you have to remember, you have to adjust for your chapter size.
Right.
Well, and one thing just to point out, again, this is Jody with Atlanta, is I've gained so many ideas just for our chapter on committee levels that everybody is doing in the network just to keep that engagement or keep things fresh, or, you know what, we haven't looked at it from this lens. So I think we all use these calls. I know I have found them really beneficial. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. That was great information.
If
No
we
problem.
can, unless somebody else has a comment, I do want to go to the idea of when you do get new members, and I think we all handle it a little different at the chapter level, but how are you conveying the Crew brand? I hear so often from people that their members don't understand that they're part of something bigger. We are a global organization. We are in the U.S., Canada, and the UK, and it's very important that people understand that when they join a chapter, whether it's Miami, Cleveland, Houston, Seattle, you're part of something much larger. So what does your chapter do when you get a new member to help them understand that?
This is Nicole with Wisconsin Crew.
Thank you, Nicole.
Yes, we do something called a member breakfast. It's held every quarter, and at that morning meeting, we bring materials, and we also share on our laptop the Crew webpage to sort of navigate through and talk about the Crew network. So it's designed with all new members. If they're not able to attend, then some of us personally reach out to those new members to have a one-on-one with them to take them through that. I think it's extremely important because I think we run into the same thing here in Wisconsin. We're known as W Crew, and I think a lot of people don't realize that we're part of a global network.
So you're being very strategic about that. Very good. Thank you. Someone else?
Yeah, this is Yula with Crew Cleveland, since you mentioned Cleveland.
Yeah.
So what we have done is once we have prospective members, we schedule a lunch or breakfast or coffee, make sure we have a person-to-person meeting before they actually join the Crew. And during the meeting, we always have older members from the organization who have been to at least one of the networking events, either it's Leadership Summit or the convention, so they can speak of it. And then every year we have the scholarship. I would say for our new members, what I can see from the interview is, first of all, they're interested in the national network when they go do member-to-member business. And the second thing that interests them most is the convention and the summit. So I think that is really helpful.
Very good. Someone else? I don't think we've heard from anybody in D.C. Who's on from D.C.?
This is Adrienne from Charlotte. Not D.C., but Charlotte, close enough.
That's fine.
We also do a new member breakfast. We don't have them quarterly. We have them twice a year. But in addition to the new member breakfast, we also assign our new members an ambassador. And so those ambassadors will discuss that information with them as well.
Claire, it's Tara Pierco here. I just want to jump in. What we're trying to do more and more in Toronto, or what I see more and more in Toronto, is the delegate is speaking at quarterly leadership meetings where all of the committee leaders attend, so they can hear about what's going on at the network level, at the international level, and disseminate that down within the chapters. Also, at all major events where we have, where the chapter has a number of people in attendance, both, as I like to call them, members and future members, having the delegates speak about network and about the international reach of our organization.
That's very good. And I hope your chapters are all doing that when your delegates come back from the leadership summits and from convention, that they are disseminating the information at a program. If you have a newsletter, I know a lot of chapters have, if they're giving a scholarship to somebody to attend convention or the leadership summit, that they do have them write like a report. But I think it's good for them. I think it's good for them to quantify in their mind and on paper what they've learned, and we do need to share that. So that is, if you're a delegate, that is one of your jobs, to share that information. And if you're not being asked to share the information, you should ask to have the opportunity to share the information, like Tara said, at a program or at a meeting. That's very good. Anyone else?
I think to take it a step farther, this is Laura McLean calling from True Philadelphia. In addition to Tara's comment, we don't meet quarterly, but we do, actually no, we do, I lied. The leadership team gets together quarterly, myself, the first delegate, and all of the committee chairs and co-chairs. And I kind of go over with them if there are events coming up nationally and any information that is passed on in the e-blasts that come out, as well as information from the blog and on the website. But in addition to that, because we're only meeting quarterly, I actually send them monthly emails as well with just 5 to 12 bullets of the same types of information that they can pass on to their committee members, and I try to highlight specific things that are committee focused so that they can quickly look at it, reference what is important to passing on. They meet monthly for 1 hour. They have a lot of information to cover, so I try to do it as often as I can to try and make it as bite-sized and digestible as I can for them. But I think as a delegate, I agree with you. It's really important to continually pass that information along so that they see what else is out there.
If I may add as well, this is Barbara Champeau from New York. We have a committee whose purposes include focusing on communicating the value of Career Network to its members, and the chair of that committee is a director, so is able to communicate to the board itself on a regular basis the value of Career Network and what it offers. Two things that we do I didn't hear mentioned. One, we've developed a one-pager which has brief bullet points describing all of the things that Career Network and Crew Foundation offers to members. And we've been distributing it at some of the bigger events, as well as we have a series of small events tailored to between 12 to 20 members, and there's always a Career Network component this year at those events, letting them know in small bites what Network is doing, what they should be accessing, what they should be looking for on the site.
Very good. Thank you for sharing that, Barbara.
Sure.
Anybody else before we go into retention? And then we'll open it up for questions as well. So retention, how are we retaining it? Not just senior members, but members in general. We do have chapters that say they have people come on board, and they're with the chapter for 2 years, and then they fall off. Well, how are you retaining members? How are you keeping members? And again, I'm going to ask some people to speak because I haven't heard from Denver, I haven't heard from East Bay, Houston, Connecticut, DC, St. Louis. I need you guys to speak up. Min Crew.
This is Brenda Jackson from Crew, Iowa.
Crew, Iowa. Very good.
We're a pretty small chapter compared to some of the larger cities. However, we did have an 83% retention rate from 2017 to 2018, so we're very excited about that.
Crew, Iowa has grown in leaps and bounds. Somebody needs to mute, please. We're hearing a phone ringing. But Crew, Iowa has done a great job. You guys should pat yourself on the back. They're 5 years old, and they're nearing the 100-member mark, so good job.
Yeah, we're doing kind of a personal follow-up. So we basically took all members that had not renewed as of a certain date, and we personally just divided that up and personally called and said, hey, we noticed you haven't renewed, and we just did that personal follow-up, and that makes a huge difference.
Okay,
Claire, this is Jeanette. I'm afraid what happened is someone put us on hold for so long it's now ringing back up to their switchboard or something. So we may not be able to get rid of it. I've been on other calls where that's happened.
Thank you, Jeanette. So what Brenda said, though, and I hope you're all doing this, and I don't need any remarks on this, but we'll get back to retention ideas. But when you get to the beginning of the year and you're going through that list and seeing who's not renewing, you should have people calling those people to understand why they're not renewing, because those are learning lessons. They're very valuable lessons for your chapter. And if you're hearing a string of the same comments, then you need to do something about it. If it's simply that I changed my job and I don't have the funds for it, my boss won't pay for it anymore, those kind of things, that's one thing. But if you're hearing something like, I didn't get any benefit of it, my membership, this and that, you need to understand that. So let's go back to retention and some other ideas about retaining members.
This is Michelle with Crew DC.
Thank
we did an
you.
analysis. You're welcome. We did an analysis a few years ago and saw that we were losing most of the members in year 1 and year 2 of membership, and they tended to be our younger members of the chapter. So we did just last year officially start our 35 and under committee. So we're doing events just focused on those women. One just fun one, just to give you guys an example, is we do a drag queen bingo every year. So just events that, and actually the rest of us are like, hey, I wish I was 35 and under so I could do those events too. But something like a Friendsgiving we do for them too. So something to keep them engaged specifically. And then we in the membership committee have really stepped up our reach out to these new members. So we're personally meeting them for coffee, and we're also, as you guys know, a pretty large chapter. So it's tough because, I think at last time I looked, we were 20% of our chapter is actually new, like within the past few months. So we really try to engage those new members now personally through phone calls, through meeting them for coffee, offering to meet for lunch, or just meeting before one of our events so that they have somebody that they know immediately off the bat. So it's not just this huge sea of women when they go to an event. And of course, always trying to get them engaged in a committee right away, because we feel like that's really how you just get so involved and attached right away to Crew.
And
Hi.
that's very true. The committee work. Sorry, go ahead.
This is Lorraine. I'm Crew DC. I'm actually a new member. I just joined 2 months ago, and
Welcome.
That's been very helpful, Michelle, and for sure, someone just kind of like a mentor, almost reaching out to me personally, inviting me, taking me out for lunch, which has been very welcoming. And also, a few weeks ago, Crew had a Meet Your Crew breakfast event, which was great, and we were able to just representatives from every single committee, and I was able to go around and talk to different people and kind of spark interest in what committees I would like to join. So that was very helpful and fun.
And I'm sorry, what was your name?
Lorene
From what?
Cameron.
From which chapter?
DC.
Thank you.
DC. Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else on the retention piece?
Claire, it's Karen again from Crew Baltimore. This is something we've observed as well, and Elizabeth LaPrez has also backed it up with her own data, but we found that overwhelmingly the members that we lose every year have been in the organization less than 5 years. So what we do now is that we have the meeting before the meeting. We occasionally have evening events that are construction tours. We'll have a new member reception before that, and the board members and committee chairs will be there. And they just get more one-on-one attention that way, and then the new members are more comfortable going into the larger event networking. I think it's that personal touch that helps keep people in. We'll see. We'll see if it bears out.
Karen, how long is that? Is that like a half hour before?
It's a half hour. It's a half hour. And then we do our construction tour, and that's followed by a happy hour. So they kind of get a meeting and happy hour before the event and happy hour.
That's great, because that's not a huge time commitment. That can be very effective. Other ideas?
So this is Casey from Crew New York again. Just chirping in with, we do a financial incentive if they renew prior to the end of the year for the membership for the following year. We reduce the fee by $50, which we saw a lot of success with this year because we started a lot earlier than normal. And we're at about, I think, 76.2% retention. We were shooting for 80, but again, we're in a difficult market competing with a lot of organizations, and we have 238 members to date and climbing, which is great. But so the first step is I also take the membership roster and I divvy it up between my committee. So there's about 14 people that have about 20 people assigned to them, and they're responsible to follow up and follow up and follow up. So, and then in addition to network communications, I also send all non-renewals in January, February up until February 14th, just emails and calls, just reminders. And then you still get people that trickle in and say, yesterday I just got one. They forgot. So it's going to happen. But first we do a financial incentive in addition to having this, liaison component with people just contacting them monthly.
Yeah, we're all busy, and it seems like we have to do a lot more of that follow-up and that personal touch in today's world.
Yeah.
Anybody else? I haven't heard from MinCrew. I haven't heard from Denver, San Diego.
This is Sherry. Sorry, this is Sherry with Denver. I'm sorry, I had my
Thank
phone
you.
and I kept trying to talk, and then I didn't. I couldn't figure out why nobody was hearing me. Anyhow, we have tried to initiate some new events that are member only, because I think that's one issue that people have had in the past with member retention is that they want more just member events and not events that non-members, a bunch of non-members can go to. So we have started some of somebody mentioned Crew Connect earlier, some smaller intimate events like the painting and wine. We're getting ready to do a cooking class. We have a hike planned this summer, and just some things that are more intimate so people can get to know each other on a different level than luncheon with 100 people.
Nice.
This is Karen Fife from Crew Utah.
Thank you, Utah.
Yes. So one thing that we do that helps us with both, certainly we have a long way to go in everything, in both retention and recruiting members, but one thing that really works well for us is we have a new member every month with one of the past presidents of Crew, so that they immediately have a connection with someone that they recognize, and that's been really, really cool. So it's been fun to see those past presidents stay engaged with the new members. They develop mentoring type of things, and immediately the new member has a connection with someone who knows about Crew.
Very nice. Very nice.
This is Tracy with Crew St. Louis.
Hi, Tracy.
Hello. So a couple of things that we're doing. We are starting to do kind of a monthly small group event. We had done small groups in August of each year that we call our dine-arounds. So we're starting to do those monthly. We're also kicking off a mentorship program that we think will help retain new members and just add value for all of our members. And we also, and I know a number of other chapters do this too, but we also have a legacy board that's comprised of our past presidents or other long-standing members to try to keep them involved and engaged in our chapter as well.
Okay, you just brought up something that I appreciate, is past presidents. A lot of chapters complain they can't keep their past presidents involved, so you gave a good idea. How about some other ideas in that regard? How do we keep past presidents engaged?
Hello.
And as members.
Indianapolis.
Say, who again?
Leah from Indianapolis.
Hi, Leah.
Hello. With our past presidents, when the new committee co-chairs come on every year, we have what's called our daily retreat.
Leah, can I get you to speak louder? Because with that ring, we're having a hard time hearing you.
Is that better?
Yes.
So at our first retreat, when the new committee members come on, one of the things that our chapter does is they have the past presidents come in, and we have a small panel discussion with our past presidents. Things that worked when they were president, things that didn't work, you know. And that way we get to kind of see the legacy of our chapter, and it's very empowering for the day coming up. So I think that's beneficial because that allows those presidents to feel like they are still needed and, you know, seen as mentors in our chapter.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea. Make them feel wanted and needed. Thank you, Leah. Anybody
Here
else?
in Boston,
Yes,
Gail. We also have a legacy council that is always run by our immediate president. And that includes all our past presidents, past members, anybody who's been in the organization for 20 years.
Okay.
So we have about 100 women in Boston, and what we do is the chair organizes in the fall and in the spring. We have a lunch program at somebody's office where someone will come in and they'll all get together. Also, our new member reception is our new member legacy reception, so that our new members get to meet them. One of the signature items we do is we have a lunch series. So 4 women are selected by the president to host a lunch each month in the spring, so March, April, June. Someone will host a lunch in their office, and for about 15 people or so, tell their story and answer questions of women. And it has to be it's a members only event that they do. And then these 4 women come back the following January or February and do a panel that is moderated by the president that selected them. And good recruitment event too, because you see the high number of the members speaking on this, and so it kind of does everything. It keeps them involved. 1 off, 2 off. They're hosting a lunch and doing the panel, but it also it also helps with recruitment.
Nice. Thank you, Gail. Anybody else? And again, I apologize for this ring in the background. Anybody else have any thought on member retention or past president retention? Wendy Mann, do you want to give us some words of wisdom?
I would love to give you some words of wisdom. So here's the thing about membership, and I think all of you on the phone know this. I think our task is how do we translate that into our actions with others? And that is that people need to come in and have a good experience. So engagement's important, and we talked about that at the beginning of the call. But I would remind you that not everybody can engage in the same way. So as you're thinking about engaging people, it's not just about committee work, which takes a lot of time and effort and a time commitment, but start thinking in terms of what I'm talking about a lot lately with others is micro-volunteer opportunities. Opportunities where people can get in and contribute something or do something and get out. So I think that's an important way to think about our audience today with everyone being so busy and business is good and that's great. But think about micro-volunteering opportunities. And I know a number of you do the coffee, but trying really as hard as you can to engage those folks as soon as they come in the door and having them have an experience that makes a difference will keep them crew happy, as I like to say. But thank you all for everything you're doing. We are a growing organization. We have a lot of energy and a lot of things happening, and I know a lot of it's happening right where you are. Thank you so much.
And I'm going to add, it's Tara here, adding on to what Wendy said, or Wendy has just said, and her strong message to all of us that storytelling is so important. So it's important that you get your members to tell their stories, that the new members hear it and understand the impact of their membership and their involvement in their network, their personal and professional life. Really, those stories. You know, hearing there's this, there's that, how did someone, that's going to resonate with someone coming in. Oh, Crow, I want that too. Oh, I'm going to get it. That's a great point, Tara, to share the success stories and how we have been successful in networking and doing business together and just building relationships. You are correct. It's very important that we do share that information with prospective members as well as members of the community at large, that they know that. That's great. I think everybody's starting to get a little antsy with this noise. And I know we're scheduled to go for another 15 minutes. Does anybody have anything they really would like to share, question to ask? I know we've heard a few people flop off the call as well. Anybody?
Yeah, I have a question. This is Kristen Kilgore with Crew OKC.
Oh, welcome. We haven't heard from you yet.
I know. Well, we're kind of new to this, and we're still kind of trying to develop our chapter in general and just kind of set precedents and try to come up with stuff. What's a good chapter size for representative city size and population size or market?
Okay, I need you to restate that question.
Okay. What's a good chapter size for representative sample of a market? Does that make sense? Like, what goal should we have to try to grow for our market size? Is there a good number? Or?
Well, I think if you look at another market that's similar to size as yours, that you might use that as a guide. But I think you have to have realistic expectations as far as how quickly you can grow. Again, I'm going to say Crew, Iowa. You know, they're based out of Des Moines there, and they're up to 100 members or knee-high to it in 5 years. I think that's really good. You guys started out really strong, and, you know, it is hard to get that consistent growth immediately, but it does, to Wendy's point, it takes engagement, and sometimes it's just getting people to engage kind of more short-term and not make them feel like they have such a noose around their neck, because that does scare some people off. Wendy, do you have any thoughts on that? Size-wise for...
Yeah, I actually, go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Nope, I've been done.
I always, you know, when I was at NAIOP, we definitely had some criteria that if your market was a certain size, then your chapter had the potential to be a certain size. But I think you have to look at the number of potential members that you've done some reconnaissance in your marketplace to look at what are the potential number of brokers you have, or what are the total amount of deals being done in the city, and how many new development is going on, because you have to be able to gauge it against the activity that's driving the market. And so I agree, Claire, you have to look at a similar market and compare yourself. But I would also say, you know, we also need to pace ourselves. I think most of the women I've met in Crew so far are type A, and we think that we're going to start a chapter and we're going to be, you know, it's going to go take off and it's going to be grow. But I think pacing yourselves is important, and I think Iowa is a fantastic example of good growth over a long-term period, not just because they founded the chapter and grew it, but they're sustaining it. They're keeping members, so that's the other part of it. But you know what we'll do for Oklahoma, for this is a good question, we'll look into, are there some criteria that we can base that on? Is what should you expect based on your market? Is there anything we can come up with, some good criteria that just gives you, you know, an outlook or a framework?
And I would say Crew Utah is another chapter you could look at too, as far as size, market size, and even demographics, geographic area, because they've been very successful as well. All right, I think I'm going to close it again, unless someone, and you're always welcome to call me or email me directly, but this noise is getting, I think, a bit annoying, and we've lost a lot of people. So I thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing, hopefully, all of you in Cleveland, and then again in San Diego. And, you know, blessed Passover, happy Easter, and again, thank you for your time today.